Radha Shyam Sundar Radha Shyam Sundar Radha Jaya Radha Shyam Sundar Radha Shyam Sundar Radha Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radha Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radha 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 Jaya Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Radha Jaya Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Radha Jaya Radha Gandharvika Giridhari Radha Gandharvika Giridhari Radha Jaya Radha Gandharvika Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Hari Nam Sankirtan ki श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय, आज की भागवतम पाठ की जय, गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. Welcome to the Sunday morning program of the AECS layout ISKCON. With deep gratitude, I invite all of you to this wonderful program with the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, that we are able to assemble together and glorify the Lord in various ways, and also glorify our Samstapakacharya Acharya Srila Prabhupada, and it's possible only with the mercy of the beautiful parampara that we come from, Brahma Madhava Gaudiya Sampradaya. And it's our privilege to be a part of this wonderful parampara where the Lord Himself appeared in our parampara, right? So it's very rare, and it's a wonderful thing that I don't know what samskars we have done and what blessings and piety that we earned in our previous lifetime, or most probably, at least in my case, it's just the causeless mercy of the Vaishnavas and the Supreme Personality of Godhead that we have been able to come to this wonderful parampara and exposed to the teachings of Srila Prabhupada, especially his teachings on Srimad Bhagavatam. Like I always say that, when it's the Bhagavad Gita, the purports of Srila Prabhupada, which are also from the Shastras, and that's why he chose to name it as Bhagavad Gita as it is. And we love Prabhupada so much, we always give him a 10 on 10 for the purports in Srimad Bhagavad Gita. But when it comes to Srimad Bhagavatam, we give him 100 on 10. They are so exciting and so enlivening and so eye-opening that we give him 100 on 10 when it comes to Srimad Bhagavatam translation and the transcendental purports of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I was told by Vijay Narasimha Prabhu that you all are now studying the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and you have reached thus far 14 chapters. The 14th chapter is what we are studying now. And I was asked to discuss the verse number 5 of the 14th chapter of the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Jnanatimrandasya Jnananjana Shlakaya Chakshurumiritam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Chaitanya Mano Vishtam Savitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupadabhiyam Tadati Swapadantikam Mante Guru Sri Samamscha Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhakti Vinda Govinda Swami Nitanamne Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimade Shivaram Swami Nitanamne Namaste Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimade Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitanamne Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Well, this is a very, very long verse, and when anyone here memorizes this kind of a long and complicated verse, then we can say that he has come to the stage of perfection and he is sure to go back home, back to Godhead. However, I am not in that perfectional stage, so we will repeat it word by word or try to combine a couple of words and try to repeat this sloka, and then we will read the translation to the verse, and then sometime later during the class we will also go through the word by word meaning of this verse and try to analyze what are the qualities in this verse that Srila Prabhupada is mentioned in the translation that we can identify with and apply correction in our lives. Srimad Bhagavatam is meant to purify our existence and also meant to transform us from our material consciousness to spiritual consciousness. Yesterday we were speaking to some wonderful parents and their children who participated in the class. So I was telling the parents, I was asked to speak to the parents of the children whom they have sent for the class, and I was telling them that please do not take it as an ordinary pious participation of your children. The knowledge that they are getting through these wonderful classes which are organized by the community in PLH, led by Her Grace Manjulali Mataji and His Grace Sudhir Gopal Prabhu is the mentor of the students there. I was telling them that the subject matter that they are learning is not ordinarily available to people in general. And the subject matter is way beyond the levels of piety. It is going to transform and take the children to the transcendental platform, which is Krishna Prema, which is the highest gift that anybody can get in this material world. So that's how these topics are so important, and it's so easily available. Since we somehow became practicing devotees, sometime we fail to appreciate this fact and take this fact very lightly. It's not very ordinary. There are so many people in the city of Bangalore and so many centers of ISKCON, and we have about 50 students who want to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. So how many people are missing out? Like we said yesterday, that there are so many people in the community of PLH itself. There are supposed to be 2,500 flats. At an average, if you take 4 per flat, 10,000 people is the potential in PLH alone. Yeah? And where Krishna consciousness has to be given. Whereas we had an assembly of around 50 to 100 people. Yeah, so what is the scope of preaching available? And what is the extent of work that Prabhupada has left for us, which will make him so happy? So that's what we have to really consider. And that is on one side, preaching is one side, but the other side is how fortunate we are to get the association of Prabhupada and the practitioners of Krishna consciousness, or the devotees of Krishna. So with this consciousness in our mind firmly embedded, let us try to listen to the instructions of Sukadev Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit, and related by Suta Goswami to the sages of Naimisharanya forest. So these instructions were given to King Rahuguna by Jadabharata, and then subsequently Maharaj Parikshit asks a very, very relevant question, that an allegorical explanation has been given on the material existence of all of us, and he wanted some direct instructions from Srila Sukadev Goswami on the allegorical explanation given by Jadabharat to Maharaj Rahuguna. Yeah. So this chapter deals with the forest of enjoyment, and we'll read the 5th verse. I know that many times you, over and over again, you'll have gone through the story of Jadabharat and his past, but we'll still try to dwell on the story and catch some of the important points which are explained in the life of Jadabharat on his path to perfection in spiritual life. So we'll repeat this verse, not line by line, but maybe word by word or 2 words at a time. Tatra gatho damsa masakha samapasadhair manujai salaba shakunta Taskara Musakadibir Uparudyamana Bahi Pranakvachit Parivartamano Asmin Advani Avidya Kama Karmabir Uparaktha Manasanu Papannartham Naralokam Gandharva Nagaram Upapannam Iti Mitya Drishtir Anupashyati. Sometimes the conditioned soul in household life, yeah, you all can repeat. Being attached to material wealth and possessions is disturbed by gadflies and mosquitoes. And sometimes locusts, birds of prey, and rats give him trouble. Nonetheless, he still wanders down the path of material existence. Due to ignorance, he becomes lusty, engages in fruitive activity. Because his mind is absorbed in these activities, he sees the material world as permanent, although it is temporary like a phantasmagoria. A house in the sky. Okay, phantasmagoria. Only Prabhupada can come up with such words. Besides teaching us the Shastra, he has taught us English as well, right? So we are eternally grateful to Srila Prabhupada. So the instructions of Jada Bharat to King Rahuguna is what is dealt with in the last 2 or 3 chapters of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And after these instructions are received by King Rahuguna, the ignorance of King Rahuguna is completely dispelled. Now in this chapter specifically, Maharaj Parikshit, as we discussed initially, asks Sukadev Goswami an explanation to the allegorical representation of material life that is given to King Rahuguna by Jada Bharat. Yeah, allegorical stories, what do they mean? It is stories with certain moral and hidden meanings, and a deeper meaning and a layered meaning is there in the allegorical stories. So this chapter specifically is called as the forest of enjoyment. Why is it called the forest of material enjoyment? Because it discusses about a merchant going to the forest. He goes with a lot of expectation and a lot of hopes that from the forest he is somehow able to exploit some of the resources and earn profit by taking them to the town. It could be log of woods which he can sell in the market, or some other precious item like fruits, flowers, leaves with some herbal infusements in the leaf which can be of medicinal value. He takes all of these and goes to the town and city and sells them for a profit. So why is he looking for a profit? Because he is looking for enjoyment from the profits that he earns. But in spite of looking for enjoyment, um, the result of that is that there is a lot of suffering in the process of accumulating these material resources for profit. So, still he goes about, if we may call it, it's not the right thing to do, but we can call it a very futuristic plan. He had just so many things. If I do this, this will happen. When this happens, I will earn so much. When I earn so much, then I will be able to engage my senses more appropriately for enjoyment. Yeah, it looks like a futuristic view, but what is the real future for all of us as human beings among the 8,400,000 species of life? We are the only people who are privileged to talk about God, understand God, and go to the mode of self realization, which is a rare privilege given only to the human species of life. You can't have a sort of congregation of dogs or donkeys coming for Srimad Bhagavatam class. Yeah? At best, they can come some mosquitoes and disturb the class. That is possible. But otherwise, it's just impossible, and it's only the rare human species where we have the privilege of understanding God. Okay? So, we all make very unlimited plans, varied plans for enjoyment, but we forget about the present. We may get some enjoyment in the process that we are employing, but it is suffering tinged with the pleasure of sense gratification. What does the Bhagavad Gita teach us in the 5th chapter? This is 5th canto, so let us refer to one of the verses from the 5th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, Ehi samparshja bhoga dukkha yonaya evate adi antavanta kaunteya na teshu ramate buddha. So what does this verse teach us? Ehi samparshja bhoga. The moment we are in contact with the material senses for some sense enjoyment, dukkha yonaya evate. That is, these are the very sources of misery. What we expect pleasure out of them is the source of misery itself. And the important point is Adi Antavanta Kaunteya. That is, there is a beginning, Adi, and Antavanta, there is an end as well. So, and the soul is spiritual, the soul is eternal. Anything that comes to an end does not make the soul happy, because the soul tries to associate with something which is also eternal, which is like its own nature. So, the wise man, na teshu ramate buddha, the wise man does not delight in these small pleasures of material existence. So, there is always a hope. We all want to taste more pleasure and increase it, and that hope for getting increased taste, what does it come with? It's a package deal. Yeah, it comes with the fear of pleasure and fear of the pleasure not being realized. And so what is the result of that desire accompanied with fear? The result is anxiety, right? Because how much can we actually achieve, and how much will still remain to be achieved? So this is always going to put us in a state of fear. So desire leads to fear, and that fear leads to anxiety. Okay? In the previous chapter, as we discussed in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is an allegorical explanation. Here, a more detailed explanation is sought for by Maharaj Parikshit from Srila Sukadev Goswami. As I repeat, Suta Goswami is relating this conversation with Suta Goswami is relating this conversation which happened between Maharaj Parikshit and happening between King Rahuguna and Jadabharat. These are important instructions from Jadabharat to Maharaj Rahuguna, where in this chapter specifically the material world is criticized in the translations as well as the strong purports of Srila Prabhupada. So why is the material world being criticized here? Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter, sloka number 8, Aham sarvasya prabho mattaha sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. I am the source of all the spiritual worlds and the material worlds. Everything emanates from me. Buddha, that means the wise person who know this perfectly, what do? They engaged in my devotional service and worship me with all our hearts and with great attention. Yeah? Buddha bhava samanvita. So if Krishna is the source of all material and spiritual worlds, why is the material world being criticized here? Yeah? You are criticizing Krishna's own creation. So this seems like a contradiction. But why is this done? He is not actually talking about the material world, but he is talking about how men driven by the desires has made it material. The desire to enjoy in this material world is being strongly criticized here. At the core of our heart, we have so many unfulfilled desires. Even after practicing Krishna consciousness for a long time, we are still not ready to give it all up, yeah, and practice Krishna consciousness. And at the core of the heart, it still remains the desires, right? And what does Krishna say in the 27th sloka of the 3rd chapter? Let's remind ourselves. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. In this material nature, actually the real doer is the three modes of material nature, Sattvagun, Rajagun and Tamagun. And ahankara vimudatma, because of this false conception, which is what is described as ahankara, the spiritual soul is bewildered by the false ego, and we forget our real identity, which is that our constitutional position is that we are servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Yeah? And we think ourselves as the doer. So the consciousness that we have is we are the doers, and we manipulate so many things within our command, and we try to enjoy the material nature. So that has to be dispensed with, and we have to recognize the need to awaken our Krishna consciousness. And how do we do that? By developing a sense of detachment and renunciation of the material desires. So desire for material enjoyment and Krishna consciousness cannot exist simultaneously. Bad news, yeah? It's like sugar is the sweetest thing in the material world, right? There is nothing sweeter than sugar. But just imagine if we throw in a lot of salt in the sugar, how will that taste? Salty sugar is no good. This is contradictory to the taste of sugar itself. So sense gratification and Krishna consciousness cannot go together. So now, in this chapter, as we discussed, the fault of material enjoyment is being emphasized throughout this chapter. And who better can tell us about this than Jada Bharat himself? The practical realization of Jada Bharat is something which we have to learn from. And as we know, Maharaj Bharat was the eldest son of Lord Rishabdev, and he had unparalleled qualities which made even Indra envious of Maharaj Bharat's life as brahmachari, grihastha, and a ruler. So that means his rule and his qualities as a grihastha and qualities as a brahmachari were even more exemplary than Indra himself, which made Indra envious. This poor Indra is always criticized throughout the Bhagavatam. Well, maybe that's his role given by Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Indra must be a real great devotee. He is a great devotee, but he constantly gets criticized throughout the Bhagavatam. That's the role he plays. Yeah. So we have Indra as a reference point, and then we say these are the improvements that we have to make, and not get captured by the qualities, the bad qualities of Indra. So anyway, so he even Indra was envious of the qualities of Maharaj Bharat. And King Bharat had a progeny of 100 sons, all categorized by their qualities and work. So, exactly as per the principles of the Bhagavad Gita, Chatur Varnyam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. So, it's based on gunas, the qualities and the karmas, that one can be categorized as a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Nobody has got the privilege of being a Brahmana by birth, right? In fact, for the first 2 years of your life, it is considered that everybody is a Shudra, because one of the main qualities of a Brahmana is Saucham, or cleanliness. Can you expect a 6-month-old baby to be clean? My God, it keeps leaking from both sides, right? It's way dirty. We may cuddle the baby, we may do so many things with the baby, but the real fact of the matter is that until 2 years it does not even know, or even beyond, does not even know how to keep itself clean. So by samskars and by training later on from his parents and the other association that the child enjoys, one may become a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or a Shudra. So King Bharat was clearly a topmost devotee of that time, and that's how every ruler must be. So he ruled the citizens with a lot of affection, performed sacrifices with exemplary care. Yeah, sacrifices are a very, very important part to be played in society. Many times we criticize the Pandits of today that they are very materially oriented, and they just do the yajna, they employ a lot of shortcuts, and they take dakshina and run away. Whatever they are doing, please appreciate them for that. Yeah, because they are keeping this important process of yajna alive. So he was clearly a Mahabhagavat. Who? King Bharata. And he was entrusted by Rishabdev to protect the earth, and he ruled perfectly during and did all the sacrifices that a ruler is supposed to do to set a standard for society to such an extent that the place which was earlier called as Ajanaba Varsha, from the rule of Bharat Maharaj's time, it was called as Bharata Varsha. So finally the time came for retirement of Bharata Varsha, King Bharat, and King Bharat finally took retirement, and he decided to do austerities in Pula Ashram after ruling for how many years? King Bharat ruled for how many years? 1 crore years. Obviously, it must have been in Satya Yuga. Because in Satya Yuga, how many years people will live in Satya Yuga?
10,000.
No, sir. 100,000, 1 lakh years people used to live in Satya Yuga. That's the minimum lifespan. It's like if you live for 100,000 years, it's like somebody getting a heart attack at 30 and dying. Okay? So they live much longer as well, but this is the minimum time. So a person like Maharaj Bharat was ruling the country for 1 crore years, and he took up the Vanaprasthashram, or a life where he would do austerities. And even today in the Pula ashram where he chanted and meditated, King Bharat, that place is still, Lord Hari is visible, Ichha Nurupa, visible. That is, in whatever Rupa you love the Lord, in that Rupa you see the Lord Hari there. Thanks to the meditation and chanting done by King Bharat. So King Bharat was chanting one day on the bank of the river Gandaki, which is famous for Shaligrams. Yeah. So he was chanting, and then he saw a deer being hunted by a ferocious animal, and it was a pregnant deer, and out of fear there was a miscarriage, and a child was born then and there, and the deer was also killed. When Maharaj Bharat saw that the deer has been killed, and this small deer which is just born was left completely motherless and helpless, he felt compassion for the deer. So what happens then to Maharaj Bharat? Maharaj Bharat brought this deer to the ashram and slowly started neglecting the activities of devotional service that he was doing, and just to take care of this helpless deer. So he went into a spell of moha or illusion, and even when the deer is not visible in front of his eyes, he had the feelings of separation. It was like a forest fire of separation from the deer. Where is that deer gone? Where is that deer gone? And King Bharat was no ordinary person. We all know the steps of bhakti. Bhakti starts with Shraddha and goes up to Prema. So Shraddha is a stage, the first stage where we have firm faith. Then if we have firm faith, what do? We do sadhu sangha, association of pure devotees of the Lord, so that the Shraddha can progress further. And then in the association of devotees, naturally what happens? Bhajana Kriya happens, which is performance of devotional service in the association of devotees. Oh, 10:45, okay. And then once we do performance of devotional service, anartha nivritti happens, which is all the unwanted habits slowly go away from our system, and we are placed in a state of nishtha or firm faith. And then we start developing ruchi, or the taste for the holy names of the Lord. And then we develop attachment for the holy names of the Lord. All material attachments gone, and we start developing attachment for the holy names of the Lord. And then bhava develops. We develop this emotion which leads you on to love of Godhead. Now once you are in a state of bhava, there is no more falling down. Yeah? So bhava means it's an automatic graduation to Krishna Prema. But in spite of that, here is an example of Maharaj Bharat, who fell down from this situation of bhava. Was it a real fall down? We'll see a little later. So Bharat Maharaj was a son of Rishabdev, was from a Kshatriya family, and he did an act of willful negligence and excessive attachment for an insignificant deer. So he became a deer as well in his next life because of his state of consciousness. So, but as a deer, he still remembered his past life. Not a privilege that many of us will have, most of us won't. So, don't take the risk which Maharaj Bharat took. Okay? If we are a deer, we'll be in animal consciousness. Then we have to graduate through the process of 8,400,000 species of life before we get a human birth again. So, so even when he was a deer, he was actually thinking about his past life and regretting what he did. And then he was born in a nice Brahmin family in the line of Angira Muni. And Angira Muni had two wives. The first wife had 9 sons, and all were as qualified as the father. And the second wife had a pair of twins, one female and one male, and that male was Jada Bharat. So Jada Bharat got a birth as a son of a Brahmin, and he was excessively conscious of his life again as a human being. Even though he was born in a family of Brahmins, he did not want Swajana Sangat, and he did not want to be associated with anybody seriously, because they were all materially inclined. Yeah. And he wanted to think about the thoughts of the lotus feet of the Lord permanently. So he manifested himself as a mad person. He acted like he was dull, deaf, partially blind, and also acted like a fool. That was Jada Bharat. So he acted as a fool before his father also. His father tried to do as much as possible to correct him and give him the samskars of a Brahmin, but he constantly acted as a dull person. So, as we say in the Bhagavad Gita, as it is said in the Bhagavad Gita, Mrityu Sarvaharas Chaham. So, that is ultimately the life has to end in death. The finality of all our lifetime is Mrityu. Yeah, there is nobody who has not going to have the Mrityu experience. If you are born with a material body, we have to die. So his father died, and the mother also decided to go along with his father and committed sati, and then went with his father, and they went and settled in a loka which is called as Pati Loka. Yeah. So he had, as we know, 9 stepbrothers. They were learned in Vedas. We said that they are as qualified as Maharaj Bharat. They were very, very learned in the Vedas, but still they were not spiritually enlightened and enlivened yet. Okay? So that seems like a contradiction. Learned in the Vedas, but not still spiritually enlightened. What does Krishna say in the 15th verse of the Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter? Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishto mataha smritir jnanam apohanam cha vedescha sarvair ahameva vedyo vedanta krit veda vid eva chaham. So the success of all the knowledge of the Vedas is vedescha sarvair aham eva vedyo, to understand that I am the purpose of the Vedas. Yeah. So many people are not realized in this, and Jada Bharat is obviously the step brothers will be step brothers, and they were torturing him in many ways. Jada Bharat would never protest, and he was doing all the menial work which was expected of him. And then whenever food came, he would take the food, whatever was balanced food, spoiled food was served to Jada Bharat. He was unaffected by material disturbances. His body was also kept dirty because he wanted to cover his spiritual effulgence. He was insulted in various ways. There are stories of how dacoits, when he was in the forest, attacked him, and the dacoits try to make him as an offering to Kali. Yeah, because the dacoits wanted the blessings of a son. And when Kali saw this, Kali literally jumped out of the altar and killed all the dacoits, because even the Devata Kali could not stand Vaishnava Aparad. Okay, so literally finished off all the dacoits, and then he was roaming here and there without any occupation. Finally, he had this encounter with King Rahuguna, and there was nobody to carry the palanquin of the King Rahuguna, and then he was given the responsibility to carry the palanquin of King Rahuguna. Rahuguna's criticism when he did not take the palanquin properly and Jadabharat's silence is worth noting. So he was very, very hurtful, and he just couldn't tolerate that ants were being disturbed. So he was going in an apposite manner with the palanquin, which was giving disturbance to the people, the king sitting on the palanquin. And then very hurtful statements was made by King Rahuguna, and Jadabharat tolerated everything. So that's why Jadabharat's story needs to be emphasized again and again, because we are discussing the fallacy or the phantasmagoria of the material life in itself, right? Which is holding a lot of promise but gives nothing. The result is unhappiness. So he starts giving education to the king Rahuguna. He says, I am soul and therefore I am detached from this body. Today you are king and I am your servant. This is some situation which can change. Tomorrow maybe I will be king and you will be the servant. So I am completely realized, so I am not angry with all these things. He explained all these things without being hurt by the statements of the king. Rahuguna gave up the pride and he fell flat at the lotus feet of Jadabharat and begged forgiveness. And he said, look, you should tell me, you are speaking such high philosophy. Who are you? You seem to be a learned person, and I am not afraid of many things in this material world. I don't care for Indra's thunderbolt. I don't care for Lord Shiva's trident. I am not scared by that. I am not even scared of Yamaraja's punishment to me. Everything is fine with me. I don't care for fire. I don't care for scorching heat, absolute cold. And I don't care even for Kuvera's weapons. But I still am scared of one thing, and that is I am afraid of offending a Brahmana. So please tell me who you are. So Jadabharat further instructs, the experience doesn't speak about mundane social relationships, master and servant. And the Vedas, though it's an excellent source of information, yet insufficient to understand the highest absolute truth. The mind is the cause of the bodily experience, appearance and bondage. Yeah. So it causes false ego, and it creates this feeling of I and mine. I am this body, mine. This is my country, my society, my government. So these are the feelings that we get. So this is I and mine consciousness, which is described as false ego. So you are a liberated soul and you are absorbed in the Supreme Lord, and you are sure to get deliverance through the process of bhakti. Rahuguna admits that his body is filled with dirty things. My vision has been bitten by the serpent of pride. So this is what Rahuguna says. So Jadabharat established the falsity of the material world by also telling King Rahuguna that your rule is very adharmic. You are engaged people in lifting your palanquin without any payment as well. You cannot realize the absolute truth by concentrating even your mind, sacrifice, sannyasa, rules of householder life, study of the Vedas. Trying to remember that sloka from Brahma Samhita. Was it? Anybody can remind me? Yes, it's a senior moment. I'm not able to get that sloka. Oh, okay. If anybody remembers as we go along, we have another 5 minutes to finish. So, there's only one thing can save you from all this great knowledge of the Vedas, etc. And what is that? Smearing one's body with the dust of the lotus feet of the devotees and attachment to service of Vasudeva, Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then he reveals his previous life as Bharata, and then deer, and then Jada Bharat in his current form. So the real word of to awaken us from renunciation and detachment, what should we do? Very simple process. Here Srimad Bhagavatam, only that will help us in removing this consciousness of constantly trying to manipulate and adjust the material surroundings and try to become as happy as possible. So death awakens us to reality. When death finally comes, and if we have not practiced Krishna consciousness, then we realize at that time it's too late, but that we have wasted our spiritual, our human life completely. It's like a dog chasing its own tail, right? We keep going round and round and searching for some happiness, right? Even worse than that, actually, it's more dangerous than that. It's like holding a tiger's tail. Can you imagine what happens? Pulivalu pidichesu. So you catch the tiger's tail, neither can you leave the tail, neither can you hold it, because the tiger will eat you up. So that is the explanation of what material life is. So Suta Goswami is narrating this to the sages of Naimisharanya. So we are kind of stuck, let's admit it, we are kind of caught, how to get out, and we are completely lost in this forest of material enjoyment. Yeah, many of us don't even have, that's why when Bhagavatam really speaks strong words, and not all can tolerate this, because so we are going to be in minority, but we are an exclusive club. Okay, many people cannot taste this because we are conditioned and we fear strong preaching. Yeah, when strong words are used, they are, no, this person, I'll never go to this place. He speaks very strongly. But these things have to be spoken strongly because this is the reality. So we are, as conditioned souls, we cannot hear strong words. And what is the meaning of conditioned? It means we are limited and controlled by the material atmosphere. And the real strong preacher of Srimad Bhagavatam know that it is useless, because he knows that the home is not here. Opposite of what we are longing for is spirituality. We long for certain things, but the opposite is this thing. We are impelled by force. There is an inward force. Even if we realize that something is wrong, we just are committed and impelled and forced to do it. So Arjuna asked this question to Sri Krishna as to what is that force which is impelling us to do this. So Krishna answers in the 37th sloka. He says, of the 3rd chapter, he says, Kama Esha, Krodha Esha, Rajaguno, Samudbhavaha, Mahasano, Mahapapma, Vidyenam cha Vairinam. Yeah, what does that mean? It is lust only. Yeah, it is, when we say lust, it is an all-encompassing word which includes all our material desires. Any material desire is a lusty desire. Okay? So it's lust only, born with the contact with the mode of passion, transformed into wrath, all devouring enemy of the world. Desire to enjoy independently is the real definition of what lust is. So, what is the solution? The solution is given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bija. Only with the mercy of Krishna and Guru, the seed, Bija, of Bhakti can be sown. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati also mentions that material life is no good. To be convinced of that, let us take our first step in Krishna consciousness. All of you have already taken to Krishna consciousness, but let's mention this point and encourage others also to take to Krishna consciousness. And we said some time back that we are in minority, right? People are not taking to Krishna consciousness. So Baba came. The Baba had 10,000 people, coming for his lecture. And then there is some meditation course. 10,000 people came for that course. And these kind of things we often get to see. As we have some 50, 60 and one more Bhagavatam class that's going on upstairs. So add another 50 to that, then there are about 100 people attending in one center, multiplied by 10 centers. Still it becomes 1,000 people attending a Bhagavatam class. So are we supposed to feel bad? No. Spiritual life for us is serious business. It is not a cosmetic part of life. People have this tendency to say, spiritual life, yeah, I am also a very spiritual person. I go for this satsang, I go for this meditation, right? Without naming. So we are expected to be in minority because we are part of an exclusive club. Let's hold on to this wonderful process of Krishna consciousness, take instructions on the dangers of material existence and succeed in spiritual life. And we'll have the same Bhagavatam class probably in Golok Dham, all of us together assembled there, and that would be real fun, isn't it? Yeah. So it's like we'll be in, say, maybe Golok Dham, and suddenly somebody will call you and say, "What are you doing here, Prabhu? The Pushpak Viman has come, you're supposed to give Bhagavatam class in Ayodhya Dham." So we get on to the Pushpak Viman, and then in a jiffy we are in Ayodhya Dham. We don't need any preparation and notes like this to give a Srimad Bhagavatam class. It just flows because we are self-realized and we have the power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam. And this will certainly happen if we take instructions from the Srimad Bhagavatam and specifically from Jada Bharat on the dangers of material existence. Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much for giving this opportunity. If there are any short questions I am supposed to ask, please ask your questions. But I was very relieved to see Harikshetra Prabhu when I came here, because then I could say all your questions will certainly be answered. Because if I can't answer, he is there to answer those questions. So, yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So, Vedas is regarded as the highest in scripture. So, those scholars who read Vedas and they could not get Krishna love the way means we are innovating. Then what's the purpose of this Vedas to writing Vedas?
Okay, so the question which you just now asked was the cause of bewilderment for even Vyasadeva. Yeah, that's when the Srimad Bhagavatam was composed. Why we say Vedas may not give you perfection? is because more than 98% of the contents of the Vedas deal with karma-kandic activities. Yeah. So the Vedas are like an encyclopedia of all knowledge. There is no knowledge that is not found in the Vedas. This is a fact, right? We used to have those big fat encyclopedias in our times, now it's all in tablet form. Everything is contained in the Vedas, including if you want to rob a bank which is next door, that information is contained in the Vedas. How to rob a bank and not get caught by the police. Perfect robbery, you know. So, do we want to know all that?
Yes.
So, the real purpose of the Vedas is slightly hidden, and in the process of reading the Vedas, we will also develop a lot of siddhis. Yeah. So, siddhis can be a serious distraction. You know, you just twist your hand like this and vibhuti comes up. Yeah, you have some siddhi. And then the moment somebody sees the siddhi, then people are distracted and say, oh my God, this person is God. Yeah? So it's a distraction. So you develop a lot of siddhis and we may not get to the real purpose. Vedeshu durlabam adurlabam atma bhaktao Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam Adhyam Purana Purusham Nava Yauvanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhaktau Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Bravo, I got the verse. So, Vedeshu Durlabam, through the process of study of Vedas, it may be very difficult to understand the Supreme Absolute Truth. Adurlabam Atma Bhaktao. That is, it may be so easy just by the process of bhakti. Bhaktya mam abhijanati. Right? So through the process of bhakti only you can understand the Supreme Absolute Truth. So that is the downside of the Vedas, and that is precisely the reason why Srila Vyasadeva, after composing all the Vedas, he was such an humble disciple. He could know how to convert a piece of iron into gold. The technology was there because he has written all the Vedas. But still he goes. Normally disciples can get really puffed up, in Kali Yuga especially. Catch a guru and finding fault with the disciple. Even to find a fault with the disciple, he has to be very, very cautious. Where the disciple will run away, right? He goes to his guru, Vyasadeva, and says, I have a problem here, I've written all these things, but still I am feeling dissatisfied. What is the cause of my despondency? So Narada Muni tells him, the cause why you are unhappy is because you have not written directly about the Supreme Personality of Godhead and directly about the devotional service that the pure devotees did. So write that and you will be satisfied. So in his maturity of spiritual life, the Srimad Bhagavatam was composed. Does that answer your question, Prabhu?
Yes. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for the wonderful class.
Hare Krishna.
So you gave the meaning of lust as the tendency to enjoy independently.
Yeah.
So, but as a practicing devotee, it is that tendency itself is all like it is in high proportion. So, for me, so how to get over that?
How to get over that? That's what I have also been thinking. So we are all victims of that, but as we progress in bhakti with sincerity, so there is a lot of falsehood everywhere. Even in practicing devotees, there are various desires. I want to be a leader of the Bhakti Vriksha, I want to be a leader of the Yatra, I want to be appreciated as a brahmachari, sannyasi, whatever. Yeah? So these desires are there. And that is the very nature of material existence, right? So don't feel bad about it that you're having these desires, but recognize these material desires and constantly reflect on how you will apply correction to yourself, right? So that's the only way. And well, the answer to all these questions, Srila Prabhupada said, chanting. So, as far as possible, we should complete our chanting when the time is suitable and pure, and complete our rounds early in the morning, and with the principle of Trinadapi Sunichena, Tarorapi Sahisuna, Amanina Manadeva, Kirtaniya Sadahari. So, in a very humble state of mind, I don't remember in which canto, but Brahmaji made a very relevant point. He said that as you progress in spiritual life, you keep realizing how small you are. So if the reverse is happening, something is wrong with your spiritual life. Now I am a big devotee. I am going to sit in the Vyasasana. Why they have put this garland on me? Everybody is bowing down to me. Yeah, so I am now become a great devotee. If you get that feeling, please reflect and find out what's wrong with your spiritual life, because Brahma said, as you progress in spiritual life, you should keep realizing how small you are, right? Because you realize how fantastic this Brahmanda is and how tiny you keep becoming as you realize the size of this Brahmanda and the gigantic nature of this material world, and beyond that there is spiritual world which is 3 times the size of the material world. So as your realization increases, you should know that you are just a speck and a very insignificant person in this material world. So if you're getting puffed up instead, that's a call for help. Self-help first, and then talk to the person who is your mentor in spiritual life. Yes, Prabhu. Now this is making me nervous. Yes, Nishant.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, in our spiritual journey, what we see, as Prabhuji was mentioning, as a practicing devotee, that whenever you are looking to progress yourself, Mahamaya is more powerful, and it keeps putting you down in different ways, because it's like once you get experience in one area, you get into the newer area because of the so-called progress, if you can say so. And that's new. Again, there is a fall down.
Yeah.
So, in our material life, with spiritual investment, there is a continuous fall down while we are progressing. And of course, in public place, we say Hare Krishna Prabhuji Dandavat Pranam, but we know inside that how we are.
Yeah.
So, how to understand that? We know that Brahma, Indra, everybody had some sort of challenges in their spiritual progress also, as you shared, Prabhuji. So, how to keep yourself motivated? While we talk about Haridas Thakur,
Yeah.
of course, they are there and we are nowhere. So, how to just be shameful, like we say, spit on yourself and repent and remorse and continue. But it's a long journey, so how to keep ourselves motivated?
Remorse and repentance is nice, but it can kind of reduce your enthusiasm. I wouldn't like that method. We know that we are in this material world, and therefore fall downs temporary can happen. Draw inspiration from people like Jada Bharat, who had an unimaginable capacity to tolerate insults, right? So for me, this whole opportunity has been to speak on Jada Bharat has been very, very encouraging for me. It's an inspiration for me because when the class is given to me, then I read that chapter and see what's going on in that part of the Srimad Bhagavatam. As a practitioner for 30 plus years in Krishna consciousness, how am I to feel running a Sattvic vegetarian restaurant? How am I to feel if somebody has said, made a false false allegation on me that I've dealt with meat products? Can something be worse than that, which you can't even imagine over 30 years? So, Jada Bharat has been an example and inspiration for me. So look at the brighter side of things. When the going is down, there are three types of association that you need to inspire you in your Krishna consciousness. One is people who are below you in spiritual advancement, very important. If there is nobody who is less advanced than you, whom will you preach to? Preaching is the biggest inspiration that you can draw. And then you need association of senior devotees from whom you can seek advice. And the third is peers, absolutely important. If any of these three types of association are missing, something wrong with your spiritual life. So peers are very, very important. So I have some very close friends in Krishna consciousness. I get an international call one day, and then the devotee tells me that, Prabhu, when I'm in my last breath, will you come and chant for me? I knew the guy is going through some trouble. I just wanted to make a humor out of it, and I just said, look, I'm going to go before you, and when you go, I'll be a 2-year-old boy, and if somebody can come and fetch me, I'm certainly going to come and chant for you when you're dying. That's a promise. Hey, chodo yaar. He said, I said, what's your problem? Tell me. Then we had a discussion with each other because we are peers. We all have problems. I have a problem because here there is a whole lot of young devotees. So wherever you go, they say, Prabhu, you are a very senior devotee. Even a senior can have problems in Krishna consciousness. You just associate with me sometimes as a peer, It's like, so that's very important. 3 types of association. And then there are so many facets of Krishna consciousness. When the chips are down, focus on that aspect which you like more. Let's be honest, when we first opened the Srimad Bhagavatam, I personally found it very intimidating. So many volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam, and parts of the Srimad Bhagavatam is on impersonalism, a topic which I don't like. Yeah? So there are topics which you like, topics which you don't like. Certain parts appear to be dry, not because the Bhagavatam is dry, because I am dry of Krishna consciousness. So do the things which you like when the chips are down, and associate with people whom you can discuss your problems with. Be careful in selection of that devotee also. So these are some of the ways which I have done practically when the chips are down. But don't feel I'm very low devotee, I don't know, I'm going to take 1000 more lifetimes before even thinking of going back home, back to Godhead. These are things which can pull you down further. Don't ever say that I'm going to take 1000 lifetimes more to go back home, back to Godhead. Damn it, that's an insult to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada has given you the perfect technology to go back home, back to Godhead. If you don't make it this lifetime, it's an insult to Prabhupada. I am going there. Let's work towards it. Sorry, I'm extending this further. Once I was with my spiritual master who had the habit of laying down on the beach. and I'm supposed to sit with him. He's a Westerner. They like the sun. I don't know what they like. For us, it's intolerable. Funny to sit on the beach in front of the sun. You know. But still, it's a duty. So I sit with him, and then he asks me to read Bhagavad Gita and purports. So I keep reading, and he's listening to the slokas, and then suddenly came up with a point. He said that the very fact that we are in the material world, one aspect is, we may say, the gurus are transcendental to material nature. But as a guru, I'm telling you, as a person who is titled guru, he said that we are all in this material world, which means we are all conditioned. This is another viewpoint, We are all conditioned. But I'm convinced of one thing, that if I hold on to the dhoti of Srila Prabhupada and do what he said sincerely, end of lifetime he'll pick me up. And it's a chain reaction. If he picks me up, you hold on to me and I'll pick you up there. So this is the process. So we might have a lot of weaknesses even at the end of lifetime, but if we are sincere to Guru and Gauranga, then for sure we are going back there. Maybe we'll have a short stint at Siddhaloka where we are given some crash courses on perfection. I said, this is how you got to dress up Srimati Radharani, this is how you have to serve Krishna, and then there will be a crash course. By then we are very advanced, we will be able to pick up those things fast, and then we go off to Golokdham to serve him eternally there, reduce the population of this world, go back home, back to Godhead.
Birth rate is already falling.
Pardon?
Birth rate is already falling.
Birth rate is already falling. Oh, okay. No, when you're talking about population and birth rate, we are not talking about only human population. We can be a painful thing if you don't practice Krishna consciousness. We'll all become mosquitoes and trouble the devotees.
Dogs might be increasing. Dogs are increasing nowadays.
Yeah, dogs are increasing.
Dogs are taking place of cows in
Mosquitoes are increasing. So the universal population is not reducing. The only way to reduce universal population, take to Krishna consciousness and get out of this material world. Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu.